At our weekly dinner, I said. Can't wait for Sunday's cookout. And my mom looked like I'd pulled a pin on a grenade. Hi, I'm Mason, 31, and last Thursday at our weekly family dinner I opened my mouth, said one innocent sentence, and accidentally lit the fuse that blew my entire family wide open. It started like this. I reached for the mashed potatoes, trying to be casual, and said, Man, can't wait for Sunday's cookout. My mom froze mid-scoop like I'd announced I was joining a cult. My dad's fork clinked against his plate. My sister, Lauren, raised an eyebrow with the smug little smile she only wears when she knows something I don't. I felt the air shift. I'd walked straight into a trap I didn't even know existed. Sunday's cookout? Mom repeated, voice doing that tight, shaky thing like she was bracing for impact. Who told you about that, honey? I blinked. You? Last week? You said we were doing a family thing. Burgers. Potato salad. Dad's terrible country playlist. The usual. Lauren snorted. Oh my God. Mom, you didn't tell him? Tell me what? That was the moment, the exact second my stomach dropped like I'd missed the last step on a staircase. And the worst part? Everyone suddenly refused to look at me, which is never good. We're a small family. Avoiding eye contact is basically a confession. Dad sighed into his napkin like he wanted to disappear inside it. Mom reached across the table, patted my wrist, and said in the softest, most terrifying tone a parent can use. Mason, sweetheart. Sunday's cookout isn't for you. There's no way to describe the feeling of hearing that sentence. It was like being disinvited from my own birthday party. Like watching a group chat go silent after I text something. Like being replaced in real time. And Lauren, perfect, golden child, center of gravity, Lauren leaned back in her chair like a queen on her throne and said, It's actually for Mark. You know. My fiancé. I stared at her. I didn't know we were throwing him a party? Mom winced. Dad coughed. Lauren smirked. It's not just a party, she said. It's an engagement celebration. We wanted to keep it intimate. Small. Just close family. I waited. I'm close family. Right. But Lauren shrugged her shoulders in a way that answered the question without saying anything. I felt heat rise up my neck. So you're having an engagement party and didn't invite me? Mom rushed in. No, it's not like that. We just thought, well, you've been so busy lately, and you two don't always get along, and we didn't want drama. There wouldn't be drama, I said, though even I didn't fully believe myself. Lauren rolled her eyes. You fought with him literally last month because he called your job cute. I'm a paramedic. A frontline first responder. My job is many things, exhausting, stressful, terrifying. But cute is not one of them. Dad murmured. You did threaten to throw him into a recycling bin. I stabbed my fork into a green bean. I said I could throw him into a recycling bin. Big difference. Lauren waved a hand. Exactly. So we thought this might be simpler. Simpler. Meaning, easier without me. That's when the real punch hit me. Because Lauren wasn't just my sibling, she was my mom's favorite, my dad's pride, the family's orbit. And I'd always been, well, there. Useful. Quiet. Present. The one they called when something broke, or someone needed a ride, or mom needed help with her phone for the 50th time. But suddenly I was optional. Expendable. Background noise. I sat there, chewing tasteless food, feeling like my chair was shrinking underneath me. So, I said finally. I'm not invited. Mom opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. We wanted the first celebration to be peaceful, she whispered. Please try to understand. The worst part? Lauren looked satisfied. Like she'd gotten exactly the reaction she hoped for. But I didn't react, not yet. I just swallowed my pride, nodded once, and said, Got it. I kept eating. Because that's what you do in my family, you swallow things that hurt. But inside me, something sharp and electric started buzzing. A feeling I hadn't had in years. This wasn't going to sit quietly. Not this time. Not anymore. I didn't know it then, but that single sentence, can't wait for Sunday's cookout, was the pebble that would kick off an avalanche big enough to bury every lie, favoritism, and long-ignored secret my family had been sitting on for decades. And I was done pretending I didn't notice. And honestly, it had been a long time coming. Because the silence after Mom told me I wasn't invited didn't fade. It didn't soften. It stretched across the table like a curtain coming down before the final act of a play nobody warned me I wasn't in. I put my fork down. Not angrily. Just carefully. Like if I moved too fast, I'd start shaking. So, I said again, slower this time, like I needed to hear it out loud. The whole family is invited to celebrate Lauren's engagement, except me. Dad rubbed his temples. That was his tell. That tiny gesture meant, we know we screwed up but don't want to admit it. Mom reached for her water glass. Also a tell. She always needs hydration when guilt enters the room. Lauren crossed her legs like she was posing for a magazine. Of course she did. Mason, she sighed. Don't make this dramatic. It's not personal. It's literally personal, I said. It's a family event. And I'm family. Close family, she corrected. That one hit harder than a gut punch. I felt it in my spine. Wow, I said. Okay then. Mom jumped in like she was trying to catch plates before they hit the ground. Honey, please. We just want this day to be special for her. You and Mark aren't exactly compatible. Compatible. Like we were IKEA parts. Mark isn't compatible with oxygen, I said. But that never stops him from hogging it. Dad choked on a laugh he immediately swallowed because Mom shot him a look that could have boiled water. Lauren's face pinched. See? This is exactly what I mean. That sarcasm. That tone. My tone? I asked, stunned. Lauren, he told me I have a blue-collar complex because I don't work a desk job. She shrugged. Well, you did glare at him. He said paramedics are ambulance Uber drivers. Mom winced. Yes, that was poorly phrased. I literally save lives. I said. He sells solar panels door to door. Lauren sat up straighter. He's in renewable energy corporate expansion. He has a badge with a cartoon sun on it. Dad coughed hard enough to need his inhaler, and I swear I saw him pressing his lips together to hide a smile. But Lauren wasn't backing down. Mark works hard. She snapped. He's good to me. And he doesn't deserve hostility on our day. Our day. Like she got married in secret, and this was the coronation. A bitter laugh slipped out. Right. Wouldn't want to ruin the royal procession. Mason. Mom snapped. Enough. There it was. Not. Lauren, stop provoking him. Not we handled this badly. Just Mason, enough. Because the pattern in my family was simple. Lauren sets the dumpster on fire. Mark pours gasoline. Mom fans the flames. Dad watches helplessly. And I'm the one blamed for the smoke. That buzzing inside me, electric, steady, angry, got louder. Okay. I said again. So I'm not invited. Got it. Lauren folded her arms triumphantly, thinking that was the end of it. But then Dad did something unexpected, something he'd never done before. He cleared his throat and said quietly, Mason, we didn't think you'd mind. And that was worse than anything else. Because it wasn't cruel. It wasn't sharp. It was honest. They genuinely believed I wouldn't care. That I was used to being pushed aside. That I'd shrug and move on because I always did. They thought I'd accept being optional because I'd been trained to. I stared at him, and for the first time in my life, I saw not my father, but a man who had absolutely no idea he'd hurt his son. And that was the moment the fuse inside me finally caught flame. Dad, I said. I mind. 3 simple words. Quiet. Steady. Final. Lauren rolled her eyes. Seriously, Mason. I turned to her slowly, and she blinked like she realized the ground under her wasn't as solid as she thought. This isn't about your engagement, I said. This is about the fact that somehow, somewhere, you all decided I'm the part of the family no one has to consider. Mom opened her mouth. I held up a hand. No. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just listen. They actually did. And I wasn't done. Because if I'm not invited to this, then maybe I shouldn't show up to anything you expect me to magically fix later. Not your emergencies. Not your rides. Not your late-night phone calls. Not your errands. Not your holiday chaos cleanup. Mom looked startled. Mason, what are you saying? I'm saying, I replied, that if I don't count when it matters, then I'm done pretending I do the rest of the year. Lauren went pale. Dad swallowed hard. Mom's eyes filled with tears. And me? I felt calm. Dangerously calm. Like the kind of calm that comes right before a life changes direction. But the real twist? This wasn't the explosion. This was just the spark. Because after I told them I was done pretending I didn't matter, the room didn't just go quiet, it shifted. Like air pressure before a storm. Like the moment a patient stops breathing and every instinct in your body shouts now. Mom whispered, "Honey, please don't overreact." And that was it. That word. Overreact. My entire childhood rewound at 10x speed. Every time I asked why Lauren got the bigger bedroom. Every time I pointed out she broke something and I got blamed. Every time she took the last slice of pie and Mom said, "Just let her have it, Mason." Every time I was told to be the bigger person. Every time my accomplishments got overshadowed because Lauren had a boyfriend, a new outfit, a new crisis, a new drama. Every time I swallowed it because that's what good sons do. Overreact. I repeated, voice flat. Mom nodded nervously. "Yes, this is just about a cookout." "No," I said. "This is about everything." Lauren exhaled loudly like she was dealing with a toddler. "Mason, seriously, stop making this a thing." And then God help me, I laughed. Not loudly. Not wildly. Just a short, sharp laugh that even surprised me. "Making it a thing?" I said. "You uninvited me from a family celebration. And you didn't even bother telling me. You were going to have me show up Sunday and what? Hand me a spatula and tell me to grill while everyone else toasted you." Mom blinked rapidly. Dad looked down at his plate. Lauren opened her mouth, but I wasn't done. Because this is when the real turning point happened. Dad finally spoke. Not a whisper. Not a mumble. A full sentence. "Son, it wasn't supposed to go like this." "How was it supposed to go?" I asked. He hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything he wasn't saying. "We thought," he paused, looked at Mom. "We thought you'd be working Sunday." "Working?" As in, on a 12-hour EMS shift. The kind you don't miss unless you're dead or close to it. "You assumed I'd be working," I said slowly. Mom winced and whispered, "You usually are." "And instead of asking me," I continued, "you planned a whole event without me because it was easier." Mom whispered, "We weren't trying to hurt you." "And yet," I said, "you did." Lauren threw her napkin down. "Oh my God, Mason, stop acting like a victim. You're choosing to be offended." "I'm choosing," I said quietly, "to finally see things clearly." Then, because this was apparently the night the universe wanted to make itself extremely obvious, Dad's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it. His face dropped. Not embarrassed. Not annoyed. Afraid. Mom immediately leaned in. "Who is it?" He didn't answer. Lauren craned her neck. "Dad?" I reached over and turned the screen toward me before he could stop me. It was a text message. From Mark, Lauren's fiancé. And the message read, "Sunday's still on? Did you tell him yet? He's gonna flip. Honestly, better if he's not there. Dude has main character issues." Main character issues. Me. A paramedic who hadn't taken a vacation in 2 years because people kept dying on my days off. Someone who ran into burning cars and overdose apartments and houses with unhinged dogs while Lauren posted engagement selfies in soft lighting. Main character issues. Mom whispered, "Oh no, oh no." Dad shut his eyes like he wished the floor would swallow him. Lauren turned beet red. "He didn't mean that." I looked at her, and for the first time in years I saw through her. Not the polished, confident sister. Not the golden child. Not the victim of demanding parents. I saw someone who was terrified I'd finally stopped carrying the weight for her. "The two of you talked about this?" I asked. Dad tried to intervene. "Son." "No," I said. "Let her answer." Lauren swallowed. "Mark was just worried you'd start something." "Because I asked questions?" I asked. "No," she snapped. "Because you get angry." I leaned forward. "I get angry when people treat me like a utility." Mom flinched. Dad stared at his hands. "And let me guess," I added. "You agreed with him that it would be better if I didn't come." Lauren hesitated. And in that hesitation, everything I needed to know fell into place. She had. She'd agreed. Mom whispered, "We made a mistake." "But the shocking part? The part that changed the entire direction of our family?" Dad really looked up and said, "We shouldn't have excluded you, Mason. We were wrong." Lauren spun toward him. "Dad!" He didn't even glance her way. He kept his eyes on me, shoulders tight, guilt carved into every line of his face. "We shouldn't have hidden it from you," he said. "We shouldn't have assumed you'd accept it." It was the first time in my life my father had ever said those words. And right when the room felt like it might break open with honesty, Lauren stood up so fast her chair screeched. "You know what?" she snapped. "Fine. If he wants to play the martyr, let him." "Lauren," Mom hissed. "Sit down." "No." Lauren pointed at me, face flushed, voice shaking. "You want the truth, Mason? Here it is. The only reason you weren't invited is because Mark didn't want you there." And I agreed. "You ruined things. You always have." Mom gasped. Dad shut his eyes. "And me?" Something in my chest went cold and still. Not numb. Not empty. Just clear. I stood up slowly, pushed my chair back, and said, "Then I guess you won't have to worry about me ruining anything ever again." Lauren opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. Because that was the moment, the exact midpoint of this story, when I finally walked away from that table. And walked straight into the truth about my family that would change everything in the parts to come. Because here's what happened next. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I didn't throw insults or make a scene. I just walked to the hallway, grabbed my jacket, and said over my shoulder, "You've made your choice. Now I'm making mine." Mom chased after me immediately, slippers flapping, breath trembling like she'd run a marathon. "Mason, honey, wait, please don't leave like this." I turned around. And for the first time in my entire life, she looked small. Not helpless. Not fragile. Just unsure. Like she knew something fundamental had cracked, and she didn't know how to glue it back together. "Mom," I said gently, "I'm not doing this anymore." She blinked fast. "Doing what?" "Being the backup child. The afterthought. The responsibility sponge. The one you apologize to only when a mistake goes public." Her eyes filled with tears. "We never meant." I shook my head. Intent doesn't undo impact. She stopped talking. That line hit hard. Dad appeared behind her, moving slower, eyes raw. He didn't try to touch me, but he did something rarer. He spoke honestly. "I never wanted you to feel less important," he said quietly. "I never noticed how often we put more on you." "That's the problem," I said. "You didn't notice. And when I told you, you didn't believe me." Lauren stood in the doorway, arms crossed so tightly she might crack her own ribs. "Stop making this about you," she snapped. "It's my engagement." I turned toward her with a calmness that felt almost surreal. "You're right. It is your engagement. And you're allowed to want your fiancé there. Your friends there. A celebration that fits what you want." I paused. "But what you're not allowed to do is pretend that excluding me was somehow reasonable." She opened her mouth, but Dad held up a hand. This time toward her. "Lauren," he said sharply. "Not now." She froze. Mom whispered, "Mason, please stay. We'll figure this out." But I shook my head again. "Not tonight. Not like this." Because I needed space. I needed clarity. And if I'm being brutally honest, I needed them to feel the silence I'd been feeling for years. I walked outside into the cool night. The porch light flickered, the air smelled like cut grass, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. But I didn't go home. No. I went somewhere else. To someone else. Because there was one person who had been warning me about my family's dynamic for years. Someone who didn't mince words. Someone who actually understood the emotional calculus of being the reliable one. My Aunt Dad's sister Caroline. The woman the family called too blunt, too direct, and too much like Mason. I pulled into her driveway. She opened the door before I could knock. She took one look at me, just one, and said, "Ah, they finally did it, didn't they?" I let out a breath that turned into a laugh. Yeah, they did. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. "I've got whiskey and leftover lasagna. Both fix emotional stupidity." I sat down at her kitchen table, and before I could even process everything, she slid me a glass. "Tell me," she said. And I did. All of it. The uninvitation. The favoritism. Mark's text calling me the problem. Lauren's meltdown. My parents' guilt. My decision to walk out. She listened the whole time, silent, eyebrows raised occasionally like she was mentally collecting evidence in a crime scene. When I finished, she leaned back and said, "Mason, sweetie, you do realize this was coming for years, right?" I nodded. "Yeah. You're the glue," she said. "But glue cracks when people dump the whole weight of the family on it. Aunt Caroline never sugar-coated anything. That's why I was here." Then she added something I didn't expect. "And you know what? This isn't about the cookout or the party. This is about Lauren being terrified that you standing up for yourself means she can't control the narrative anymore." My head snapped up. "Narrative?" She snorted. "Yes, narrative. Your sister is the star in the family play. Has been since birth. And you? You're the crew working backstage. Invisible unless something goes wrong." I stared into my glass. "Your parents don't see you as less," she continued. "They see you as steady, reliable, safe. The one who doesn't need the extra attention. They never realize that being needed and being appreciated aren't the same thing." That line hit me like a punch. "Then what do I do?" I asked. She tapped her fingers on the table. "You set boundaries. Real ones. And you stick to them." "I tried," I said. She laughed once. "Oh, honey. That was just the opening statement. The real boundary setting hasn't even started yet." I looked up slowly. "Because here's what's going to happen next," she continued. "Your parents are going to try to fix this with a quick gesture. A text. A phone call. Maybe an invite at the last minute. Something easy." Pause. "But Lauren?" Caroline's eyes narrowed. "She's not done." A chill slid down my spine. "What do you mean?" "Mason. Your sister is going to double down. She's going to escalate. She's going to make this entire engagement centered around you being the villain." I swallowed. "Why?" "Because for the first time in her life," Caroline said, "you walked away from the table without apologizing. And that scares the hell out of her." I leaned back. Let that settle. Accepted it for the truth it was. Then she added, "And the worst part? She's about to do something very, very stupid. Something that involves Sunday." A cold heaviness hit my chest. "What kind of something?" I asked. Caroline sighed, poured herself a drink, and said, "The kind that's going to take this whole mess from hurt feelings to full-blown fallout." And in that moment I knew Sunday's cookout was about to turn into a battlefield. And I, whether I liked it or not, was already at the center of it. I didn't sleep much that night. I crashed on Aunt Caroline's couch, a couch that had the emotional comfort of a million therapy sessions baked into its cushions, and tried to convince myself that Sunday wouldn't be as disastrous as she predicted. But when my aunt says something's coming, it's coming. By sunrise, my phone was vibrating like a dying bee. Missed calls from Mom. 3 texts from Dad. 4 from Lauren, each progressively more unhinged. Here's a sample. "Lauren, wow. Really mature walking out." "Lauren, you're ruining this already." "Lauren, I told Mark you were having one of your days. So don't make me look stupid." "Lauren, you better not show up Sunday." That last one? The all-caps energy of someone who felt their throne wobbling. But I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I sat at Caroline's table eating scrambled eggs while she skimmed my phone like she was going through legal evidence. She said, tapping the screen. "There it is." "There what is?" "The desperation. She's losing control of the narrative." I groaned. "Don't start." "I will always start," she said, sipping her coffee. "It's my spiritual calling." "Now what exactly did she do after she told you not to come?" I checked my phone again. More messages had rolled in while I chewed. The most recent one made me choke. "MOM, sweetheart, please talk to us. Your sister told us you said you weren't coming on Sunday anyway because you don't support her engagement. We're very confused." I slammed my fork down. "She what?" Caroline didn't blink. "So she escalated." "No, she lied." "Escalated with lies," Caroline clarified. "Very on brand." I felt my pulse in my ears. "I literally never said anything like that. I said I wasn't invited." And she reframed it. Caroline said, standing, "Stretching like this was entertainment instead of emotional arson. Because manipulation is all about angles. She's painting you as the villain before you even decide whether to show up." I stood up from the table. "I need to go over there." "No," she said immediately. "Caroline. No. Absolutely not." She wagged a finger. Walking into their house right now is like walking into a burning building with a cup of water. You'll die tired. I dropped into the chair. So what do I do? First, she said, you breathe. Second, you stop letting Lauren script your role. And third, she smirked, you wait. For what? For them to reveal the rest. I groaned. What does that mean? She shrugged like she'd seen this movie 1,000 times. People who lie always lie twice. People who manipulate always escalate. Something else is going to happen before Sunday. Something big. I didn't want to believe her. I really didn't. But I had exactly 4 peaceful hours before I found out she was, of course, absolutely right. It started when my cousin Tyler texted me out of nowhere. Tyler doesn't text anyone. He communicates in grunts, memes, and occasional beer emojis. But today? Tyler, dude. You coming Sunday? Me, did Lauren put you up to this? Tyler, no. Just wanted to know if you're okay. Tyler, also, have you seen the invite? Invite? I frowned. Me, what invite? Tyler, the Facebook one. Me, Facebook what? Tyler, bro. Just go look. My stomach sank. I opened Facebook, a platform I swear I only keep so I can see whether family members are alive, and there it was. Lauren had created an event. Public. With 67 people. Going. Sunday, engagement cookout for Lauren and Mark. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the description. Small intimate family gathering. Just close friends and those who have supported our relationship from the beginning. Please, no drama. Some people weren't invited for personal reasons. Some people weren't invited for personal reasons. My full name wasn't written there, but it might as well have been in neon lights. My phone buzzed again. Another message. From someone I went to high school with. Dude. Your sister okay? She basically subtweeted your entire existence. Then another. Thought this was just a family cookout. Why is half the neighborhood going? Then another. Are you seriously not invited to your own sister's engagement party? I swallowed hard. Caroline leaned over my shoulder, reading. Then she did something that worried me more than anything. She laughed. Mason, she said, you might want to sit down. Why? Because this isn't a cookout anymore. Your sister just turned it into a public spectacle. I sank into the chair. She kept going. And I promise you this is only phase 1. Phase 1 of what? The meltdown. She said. The inevitable meltdown. She's overcorrecting because she's terrified. And terrified people do one thing consistently. What? Overplay their hand. I stared at my phone, at the cataclysmic disaster forming in real time. And then Caroline hit me with the final blow. And Mason? She's only just getting warmed up. This party. She chuckled darkly. Your sister is about to make the mistake that will blow this entire situation wide open. What mistake? The kind that exposes everything she's been hiding, Caroline said. And it's going to happen before Sunday. I ran a hand over my face. What the hell does that mean? She reached for her coffee again, calm as the ocean before a tsunami. It means, she said, brace yourself. And I did. Because by that evening, another shoe dropped. A shoe so big it didn't just drop, it cratered. Because the other shoe, my aunt warned me about. Yeah. It didn't drop. It detonated. It was around 6 p.m. I was still at Caroline's, half doom scrolling, half trying not to hurl my phone into her backyard pond. She was reorganizing her spice cabinet, which she only does when emotionally preparing for incoming catastrophe, when my phone buzzed again. A notification from a group chat I didn't even know still existed. The Walker family pie skull. The pie emoji was Grandma's contribution, the skull was probably mine from years ago. A new message. From my mother. I opened it. And my soul left my body. It was a screenshot. A screenshot of another message. From Lauren. Sent privately to our parents. Except Mom had accidentally dropped it into the family group chat where, unfortunately for Lauren, every breathing relative could now see it. Here's what it said. Lauren, before Sunday, I need both of you to back me up. If Mason shows up, do not let him stay. I told people he wasn't invited because we agreed he's too unpredictable. If he causes a scene, it'll ruin everything. Please don't cave. You know how he gets. Plus, Mark doesn't want him there at all. He said Mason gives bad energy. Also, Please don't tell him this came from me. I don't want him turning it around on me like he always does. There was more. Because of course there was. Lauren, and remember, if anyone asks why he's not invited, we're saying it's because of his job schedule. That way no one thinks it's personal. It's better for everyone if Mason just stays out of this one. I stared at the screen. Blinking. Breathing. Dying a little. Then pandemonium. Family members in the chat started typing like they were trying to beat each other for a prize. Anne-Marie, what the hell, Lauren? Uncle Don, bad energy? He saved my neighbor's kid last month. Cousin Amy, he's a paramedic. WTF are you talking about? Grandma, Mason is a good boy. Lauren, stop this nonsense. Uncle Rick, did she seriously try to spin this on his job schedule? Aunt Sharon, why are we excluding family for a fiancé who sells solar panels? And then, the cherry on top. Grandma, what is a bad energy? Is it like gas? Caroline nearly fell off her chair laughing. But me? No. No laughter. Not even anger. What I felt was something deeper. Something colder. Clarity. Because here it was proof. Actual written proof that everything Aunt Caroline said was dead on. Proof that this wasn't about an innocent mix-up or a social oversight. Lauren had intentionally lied to my parents. Lied to extended family. Lied to the entire neighborhood. Blamed me preemptively. Tried to paint me as unstable. Tried to manipulate them into shutting me out. Tried to rewrite the story so she looked clean. All because she couldn't stand the idea of me existing at her event without orbiting around her. Mom tried to recover quickly, texting the family group. MOM, everyone, please ignore that message. It was meant for us privately. Uncle Don, that's the problem. Anne-Marie, privately or not, it's awful. Grandma, shameful. Then Lauren joined the chat. And boy, she came in like a tornado wearing lipstick. Lauren, OMG, I can't believe Mom posted that. Lauren, everyone needs to calm down. Lauren, Mason knows how he gets sometimes. Cousin Tyler, yeah? He gets heroic and drives ambulances. Lauren, that's not what I meant. You're all twisting my words. Lauren, if you knew how Mason talks to Mark. And then Mom, per Mom, trembling Mom typed. MOM, Lauren, please stop. We saw the messages. You've been lying to us too. Silence. For 2 long minutes. Then. Lauren, that's not fair. You know how dramatic Mason can be. You know how he can ruin things. I just wanted one day that wasn't about him. One day where he didn't overshadow me. One day where he wasn't the victim again. And there it was. Lauren's truth. Not about the cookout. Not about Mark. Not about bad energy. It was about resentment. She resented me. For existing. For helping. For being reliable. For being calm under pressure. For being the one everyone else leaned on. I set my phone down. But before I could even breathe, Aunt Caroline snatched it, squinted at the screen, and said, "Oh, sweet Jesus. She's spiraling." Then she looked at me. "Mason." "What?" "You need to decide something." "Decide what?" She leaned forward. "Are you going on Sunday?" I hesitated. Because now it wasn't just about being uninvited. It wasn't even about Lauren anymore. It was about the truth being dragged into the light in front of everyone. It was about reclaiming my place in a family I'd been quietly shoved out of. But as I opened my mouth to answer, my phone lit up one more time. A private text from Dad. "Dad. Son. I'm so sorry. We had no idea she felt this way. Please come on Sunday. Please. We need to talk." My chest tightened. Then another text, this time from Mom. "Mom, please come. I want you there. This whole thing has gone too far." And the final message, from someone I didn't expect. "Grandma. Come Sunday. I will handle Lauren." I swear I almost cried. But the moment that solidified my decision, Lauren sent me a direct text, cold, venomous, panicked. "Lauren. If you show up Sunday, I promise you'll regret it." I stared at the message. Then I smiled. A slow, dangerous smile. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, guarantees that I'll show up somewhere more effectively than someone telling me not to. I looked at Caroline. "I'm going," I said. She raised her glass. "Good," she replied. "Because Sunday is about to get very, very interesting." And oh, she had no idea just how right she was. Not anger. Not revenge. Not spite. Resolve. This wasn't about crashing a party. This was about reclaiming my place in a family that had quietly decided I was optional. And if Lauren wanted a showdown? Fine. I wasn't starting it. But I wasn't ducking it either. The morning of the cookout, Aunt Caroline insisted on being my emotional security detail. Meaning, she brewed extra strong coffee, packed leftover lasagna, in case we need a peace offering or a weapon, and wore sunglasses that said "Don't test me." "You ready?" she asked. I shrugged into my jacket. Ready as I'll ever be. We drove over. Calmly. Like we were going to brunch instead of walking into a social minefield. But the second we turned onto my parents' street, we saw the first sign of disaster. Cars. Everywhere. Lined along the sidewalk. Stuffed in driveways. Double parked near the hydrant. This wasn't a small intimate gathering. This was an event. An event. Caroline whistled. Your sister invited half the Tri-County area. I sighed. She loves an audience. Then let's give her one. Caroline muttered. We parked 2 houses down. People were already milling around the front yard like it was a suburban music festival. There were balloons. A rented arch. A photographer. A photographer. This looks like a budget wedding, Caroline whispered. We walked up the sidewalk. I felt eyes turn. Some people whispered, recognizing me. Some looked confused. Some looked delighted, like they'd been hoping for drama with their potato salad. But the real moment? Mom saw me first. Her face crumpled in relief and she rushed over, hugging me so tight I thought I might crack. Oh, sweetie, she whispered into my shoulder. Thank you for coming. Thank you? Dad appeared next, clapping a hand on my back like he was steadying himself on me. Glad you're here, son, he said quietly. And he meant it. But as warm as that moment was, it didn't last. Because then, Lauren spotted me. She was standing near the rented arch, holding a plastic champagne flute. When she saw me walking up the driveway, her entire body stiffened like someone had hit her pause button. Then her eyes narrowed. She handed her glass to someone, didn't even look to see who, and stormed toward me in heels sharp enough to be classified as weapons. What? She hissed. Are you doing here? I kept my tone calm. Mom and Dad invited me. Her lip curled. No. I invited people. This is my event. You had no right. Lauren. Dad cut in, voice firm. Enough. She spun toward him, incredulous. You're taking his side? Mom tried to soothe her. We want him here, sweetheart. He's part of the family. He's not part of my engagement. She snapped. Caroline stepped forward like she'd been waiting for this cue. Well, that's unfortunate, she said sweetly. Because this event is apparently too big to fit inside your ego. Lauren whirled. Why are you here? Caroline shrugged. Because I enjoy a good train wreck. And you've put on quite a show. People nearby gasped. A few pretended not to listen but leaned in anyway. Lauren's face flushed red. You're ruining everything. No, Caroline corrected. You ruined everything when you sent that charming text about Mason having bad energy. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Apparently more people had heard about the text than I realized. Lauren's jaw dropped. You read that? Mom groaned. Lauren, everyone read it. Because you posted it, MOM. The neighbors paused mid, hot dog to stare. And that's when Mark, the fiancé, the human embodiment of an energy drink that expired 10 months ago, finally emerged from the backyard. He swaggered over, wearing sunglasses indoors. Yes, indoors, because there was a canopy tent and apparently he feared UV rays passing through fabric. What's going on? He asked, clearly annoyed. Lauren pointed at me like she was accusing me of murder. He's not supposed to be here. Mark crossed his arms and squared his jaw like he was posing for a low-budget cologne commercial. Yeah, man, he said. We said no drama? You showing up is literally the definition of drama. I stared at him. Slowly. Very slowly. And then I said, Buddy, I didn't show up to make drama. I showed up because your fiancé lied to half the county about me. He scoffed. Bro, you're always like this. Like what? Main character energy. Behind me, Caroline muttered. Oh God, he talks like a podcast. I kept my voice even. You really think I'm the problem here? Yes, he said. Because you always make everything about you. This time I laughed. Softly. Dangerously. Mark? I said. This party, your engagement, your relationship, everything here today? The only reason it's about me is because Lauren made me the villain in a story she wrote in crayon. Lauren gasped. How dare you? Lauren, Mom said firmly. Stop. She didn't. You always do this, she yelled. You ruin things. You suck the attention. You act like you're better than me. I stared at her, stunned. Lauren, I said quietly, I've never tried to overshadow you. I've spent my whole life stepping back so you could shine. She froze. The whole crowd froze. And that was when Grandma, blessed that tiny woman with lungs like a trumpet, pushed her way to the front. She glared at Lauren, then Mark, then the arch, then the photographer, then back to Lauren. And she shouted, You apologize to your brother right now, or I'm taking back the air fryer. Everyone gasped. Even the photographer. Lauren sputtered. Grandma. And oh, Grandma barked. Not another word. You're behaving like a spoiled grape. Caroline whispered. Is grape the insult she chose? Bold. But Grandma wasn't done. She turned to the crowd. This boy, she poked my arm hard, dragged a stranger out of a burning car last month. I saw it on the news. Lauren's fiancé can't even drag recyclables to the curb. Mark's mouth hung open. Someone snorted so loudly they choked on coleslaw. Lauren looked like she might faint. And Grandma delivered the finishing blow. If Mason leaves, I leave. And whoever stays with me can come to my house where the real food is. Half the guests perked up like meerkats. Lauren muttered, I hate everything. And all I could think was, this wasn't even the real fallout. Because something else, something big, was just over the horizon. I could feel it tightening in the air like tension before lightning strikes. And when it hit, this cookout would never be the same. Because right after Grandma publicly threatened to revoke the sacred family air fryer, things went nuclear. Lauren stood frozen, cheeks blotchy, chest heaving, eyes darting between me, our parents, and the 50 stunned guests who suddenly wished they'd brought popcorn instead of potato salad. Mark hovered behind her like a malfunctioning Roomba, unsure whether to comfort her or hide behind the grill. Then Mom, my quiet, conflict-avoiding mom, stepped forward. Lauren, she said, voice trembling but firm. You owe your brother an apology. Lauren snapped. For what? For protecting my engagement? For wanting one day where he doesn't ruin everything? Dad stepped beside Mom. For lying, he said. To us. To everyone here. A ripple of whispers spread. Lauren's eyes filled, but not from guilt. This was embarrassment, the kind that curdles into anger. You're all unbelievable, she hissed. He leaves dinners when he's upset, no one scolds him. He gets dramatic, everyone comforts him. I slip up once and suddenly I'm the villain? Once? Aunt Caroline echoed. Sweetheart, this was a Broadway-level production. But the breaking point wasn't her insult, or the lies, or even Grandma's threats. It was what happened next. Because suddenly from the back of the yard a voice shouted. Is this about the texts? The ones about Mason? We turned. It was Tyler, holding up his phone. And behind him? Other guests raised theirs too. Oh yes, someone said. They're circulating. Lauren's face strained of color. Because the messages she tried to hide? The back-channel lies? The manipulation? Everything she'd said about me was now spreading through at least 3 group chats, 2 neighborhood threads, and a Facebook moms group. Caroline leaned toward me and whispered. Told you. She overplayed her hand. And right there, surrounded by stunned friends, silently judgmental relatives, and one very nervous fiancé, my sister realized. This wasn't my fallout. This was hers. Because once Tyler announced the texts were circulating, people started whispering louder openly now. Guests stepped back from Lauren and Mark like drama was contagious. Someone muttered. Wow, imagine doing that to your own brother. Another added. And he's a paramedic too. Yikes. Lauren's breathing turned shallow. Her eyes were wild, darting everywhere, searching for anyone to defend her. No one did. Not even Mark. Especially not Mark. Because Mark, genius that he is, raised his hands and said loudly. Hey, don't look at me. I told her not to do all that. Absolute silence. Then Caroline whispered. Oh. He really said that out loud. Lauren whipped toward him. Mark, what is wrong with you? He shrugged. I'm not getting dragged into this, babe. And there it was. She realized she stood alone. Mom looked heartbroken. Dad looked exhausted. Grandma looked moments away from grabbing sandals to start swinging. And me? I just stood there, calm, quietly watching the truth do what truth always does when it finally comes up for air. Expose everything. After Mark threw her under the bus, Lauren's face crumpled not with anger, but shock. Raw, shaking, painful shock. She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "Does everyone hate me now?" No one answered. Mom touched her arm. "We don't hate you. But this wasn't right." Lauren looked at me, then really looked, and for the first time in years, there was no pride, no competition, no theatrics. Just a scared woman realizing she'd pushed too far. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Mason, I'm really, really sorry." And for once, I didn't rush to make it easier. I nodded. "Thank you? That's a start. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. But a beginning." The cookout limped. I'm quieter, humbled. People actually talk to me. Grandma fed me first. Because he's the hero today. Dad hugged me. Mom clung to me like I'd almost disappeared. As for Lauren? She sat beside me near the end. No audience. No cameras. Just two siblings staring at the grass. "Can we fix this?" she asked. "Only if we're honest," I said. "For real this time." She nodded. And for the first time in decades, it felt possible. Because sometimes a blow-up isn't an ending. It's the first honest conversation a family ever has.